So then I was offered this opportunity. I remember when my boss called me, he said, you could be the CMO, do you want to think about it? I just said, no, yes, no, I want to do it. He said, no, take the evening. No, I'm ready for it.
Welcome to That's What I Call Marketing, the podcast where you'll hear from the leading lights in the marketing world and listen to their unique insights. Please do like, rate, review, share, subscribe, all of those things that help more and more people find That's What I Call Marketing. I am here in Intact House in Dundrum today to meet with Imen Zitouni, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Intact. Intact is probably a new brand for people in the UK and Ireland, but if you're in Canada, it is a household name. They have Intact Insurance, also Bel Air Direct here in Ireland. We operate Intact Insurance and 123.ie, and of course in the UK it's Intact Insurance as well. You'll hear about it in our episode with the men. Previously we were known as RSA Insurance in the UK and Ireland, so now that rebrand happened from October the 6th. I say we as this is the company I work for. It's a real pleasure to get to talk to our CMO Imen today. You'll hear about the size and scale of Intact. You're going to hear about how it started. It's an incredible founder's story that Imen is going to take us through. You hear about Imen's career from working in agencies, her love of digital, how she kind of accidentally fell into insurance and has stayed there ever since, over 20 years in insurance, and how her path has taken her from setting up a whole innovation lab at Intact Insurance that now has over 1,000 people working in it, and how she has now stepped into her role as Chief Marketing Officer. We talk about the challenges and opportunities with a global rebrand and some of the things she's looking forward to next year. If you don't know Imen, she has been recognised as one of Canada's best executives by none other than the Globe and Mail. Praise for her ability to blend technology, creativity and empathy. And you'll hear it come out in my interview with Imen today. So let's get straight into today's episode with Imen Zitouni, Chief Marketing Officer of Intact. Imen, thanks so much for joining me on That's What I Call Marketing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor, Conor, for inviting. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Listen, we've had a big day here this morning. We've had Martin here. Our CEO founder, Charles Brindamour, has been here. But for people who maybe outside of Canada, people listening in Canada will know Intact, but people in the UK, Ireland and Europe may not be as familiar. So we'll start quickly with kind of what is Intact?
Intact is only the best insurance company in the world, and I haven't drank the Kool-Aid, as you see, as you can see. So Intact is a property and casualty insurance company that was founded in Canada back in 2008. We are the largest insurance company in Canada, double the size of the number 2. And we are one of the largest property and casualty insurers in the world. So what does it mean, property and casualty insurers?
Yeah. I'm thinking ambulances.
So we sell home, auto, and business insurance. So this is our specialty. This is our focus. And
And a huge brand. And we'll get talking a bit about kind of what Intact here is going to be and all of that. But I think even for a starting point, I love talking to CMOs because I love the journeys CMOs have been on. And I know you've said that you kind of started digital when it wasn't even a thing. You were teaching people how to use the internet.
Yes. I was hired. So I studied in marketing because the internet didn't exist when I started university. Yes. And I was hired by the Canadian government while I was studying to teach companies to use the internet. So I wrote manuals on how to do a search online. I taught people how to use a mouse. I taught them how to send emails, et cetera, to me. And as soon, but I still remember the first time I went on the internet. It was on Alta Vista.
Okay.
Google didn't exist, so this is how old I am. But it was instantly fell in love with the internet. So even though I finished my studies in marketing, I knew that digital, which we call interactivity at the time,
that's right. Yeah,
was going to be my passion, and it still is, even though I'm now focusing more on marketing.
It's fascinating. I remember getting my first email address. I remember being in college and a guy going, oh, you need to get one of these. I was like, what is one of these?
Oh, yeah.
And getting an email address. I was like, wow, what do I do now?
Oh my God, yeah. You know what? I remember the first work at the university that I have to type on a computer, and I didn't know that you could copy paste. I remember retyping the text from my colleagues into my own. So 25 years later, here we are.
I know, it's because sometimes you have to almost put that, I think, in context sometimes for people who don't remember pre-internet, pre anything like that. You worked in agency land as well, which I always think is such an amazing grounding, isn't it?
Amazing experience. So I worked for Cassette, which is still one of the largest ad agency in Canada, was the largest at that time. Worked in the digital department. And so first job out of university, learned so much. I think this is the biggest benefit especially when you come out of school, working in an ad agency, they give you so much responsibility so quickly. Working on big Canadian brands. So I attribute a lot of my career, I think, was accelerated because I had so many opportunities working for that ad agency.
Yeah, you have to figure so many things out, don't you, quickly?
Yes, And what I think, absolutely, and what it teaches you as well is because you're customer facing, right? You're there for your client. I think it taught me, most importantly, it taught me how to convey confidence.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you want to be reassuring for your clients that you're going to be able to deliver the campaign on time, on budget, and that it's going to be impactful. And,
it's going to work.
It's going to work for them. So I learned so much from this. And the other big thing that I learned from an ad agency learnings that I now pass on to my team members is how to build a marketing strategy.
Right, okay.
The way that I learned it at Cassette, that ad agency, I'm still using it today.
It is incredible, and I just think that ability to manage, and I think probably for a CMO, there's lots of plates spinning, lots of things going on all at once, and that kind of just sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
So tell me then how you went from that into insurance. I read that, was it a late night conversation with a friend or something?
Yes, my roommate was working for an insurer in Canada, and they were starting on their digital journey themselves. So his boss used to call me like to ask for some tips here and there. And then at some point, that boss just told me, why don't you come work with us? So I never thought about it. But, starting a new thing is really an opportunity that you don't want to miss on. So I just joined that insurer because of the increase on paycheck, like I must say too. I want to be honest. But I just fell in love with the world of insurance then. I love the fact that it's so data-driven. So it brings a whole new spin to marketing and to decision-making in a world that could be super subjective. And since I joined the insurance industry in 2002, I never left. This is my industry.
And I'm sure, like, if you were to go back and talk to Imen before then in college, insurance probably wasn't on the radar necessarily.
No one. I'm not sure that, aside from actuaries, not sure that many people go think about their career in insurance.
They wake up in the morning going, I wish to be.
But when you think about it, it's so much driven in purpose. Imagine a world without insurance, right? Like most of us could not afford to buy a house without insurance because if something happened to it, we could never recover from it. Imagine business owners. Imagine if there was no insurance in this day and age where there's so much severe weather events, if it was only on the shoulders of the government to rebuild. So I love the purpose that comes with working in the insurance industries. Good thing I just landed there.
But is that brilliant? Because sometimes the path isn't, I want to work in chocolate or whatever.
No, everyone wants to work in retail, I feel, in marketing, right? Beauty or fashion brands.
And what's really interesting, and we'll get on to talking a bit more about Intact and I think the culture and the beliefs here, but it is really interesting how I find it's incredibly innovative, and you find people who are in the industry a long time, and sometimes that comes with that is a bit of, we've tried that, we've done that, that's not something that culturally belongs here. No. I really don't find it at all.
Absolutely not. And it is, I think, very special, especially in the insurance field where it's all about mitigating risk. So you can be surrounded by people that would try and avoid risk at all costs. It's not the case at Intact, and having a strong leadership that's helping us innovate and opening doors for us is really fantastic, and opened tremendous doors for us at Intact to be able to innovate.
Innovation is obviously a huge part of your Intact story. The Intact Lab was something that you kind of were setting up effectively. Please tell me, how did that come about and the impact I think it's had?
So It was created in 2015, and it came from following discussions with our CEO, Brindamour. So I was fortunate enough to have some one-on-ones with Charles, who was asking me, talk to me about digital. What do you think CEO of an insurance company should know about digital? And then at some point, through our conversations, he just asked me, how would you organize digital at Intact? So at that time, I was responsible for digital marketing for the direct arm of Intact called Belair Direct. And in my mind, I always had in my mind that a big company such as Intact should have an innovation lab.
Right.
So I told him, okay, I have an idea. He said, no, take some time, write it down, and then let's talk in 3 weeks from now. So I built that. Those 7 slides I still have today. And the idea was to build the Center of Digital Excellence at Intact, aiming at making sure that we provide a superior customer experience to all customers of Intact in Canada. The answer was yes, talking about like getting support from the CEO. So we started that lab with 7 people dedicated to digital, 7 people who we called specialists in big data at that time. AI was not a term that was really used. And myself. So we started a group of 15 people dedicated at innovating at Intact for the sake of bettering the experience for our customer. Today, it's a group of 1,000 people working at the lab. In Canada, we have a team in Hong Kong, and there's also now some team members that are going to join the UK team. So much history and so much success came through that.
That moment of Charles saying to you, and you going, I have an idea. That's incredible that something could have held you back. CEO going, maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I should have this more fully formed. Was there something in you that just, you knew it was right, or?
But there are 2 things, right? I really thought that, but I really believe that our company deserves the best, but most importantly, the customers of our company deserves the best experience. So if someone is offering me a chance, I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to go for it for sure. The second thing is, I think that this is our role as senior leaders in our company. We need highly confident people. They don't need to be surrounded by people who would just say, would just agree with them. What they're looking for is to be surrounded by people who would bring them new ideas, different opinions, would be able to disagree respectfully with them. And this is what we are also expecting from our team members, right? So for me, those 2 things made it that, what do I have to lose to pitch it? And it would be so amazing to be able to create it. And it was.
It is. I guess setting that up, I mean, that's setting up a whole part of an organization. I'm sure you learned a ton about growing and scaling something. What were some of the things that you've taken away from that growth experience?
I think we were super fortunate when we started the lab at that time because digital was important for the direct arm of Intact, but not as important as today. So we were able to start small. We were able to really experiment and test. My job as the leader of that team was to protect the team members from as many constraints as possible so that they could have the freedom to experiment. So this was, to me, like the key learning. Also super important when you're able to start small to be able to really convey we call it the vibe of what we want that team to be, and grew from there. I think it was, now that we're 1,000 people and that the lab is now led by one of my dear colleagues, Isabelle Girard, who's our Chief Digital and Data Officer. I think it's amazing to see that the spirit of innovation is still there, but of course, getting to another scale brings challenges.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of that, I think experimentation is a huge part. I think a lot of marketers want to experiment, but sometimes, I was talking to somebody recently, Brady Josephson from Charity Water, and he talked about the differences between certain things. Some things you're just trying it, you're just giving it a go. Some things are then further along that. He had 3, I can't remember the middle one, but then he said there's another set of things that are actually experiments. Were you able to kind of start seeing the differences? We're just trying this. It's not actually an experiment. Yes. And what the difference is between try and experiment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, of course, the biggest the contribution, let's say, digital had in our company, I would be lying if saying you could experiment with as much freedom as we could at first. But we still can do A/B tests. There's tons of ways, like to be able to test on a smaller scale or for a smaller portion of the population, which We still do. The other thing is that I always thought that as the leader of my team, even though our budgets are determined based on priorities, I always kept a small part of my budget for true innovation.
Okay.
I think like it is our right as exec to manage a part of our budget, but I think it's super important and to be able to do. I gave it to the team. We built what we call the rapid prototyping team,
Okay.
where we gave the chance to people to get out of their day-to-day for 30 days and to pitch an idea for a project that they could deliver within 30 days. So this really removes tons of risk, for sure. And as long, to me, like the only criteria was it needs to be correlated to our corporate strategy.
Yeah.
So we see that in other companies, like back in the days, you had like the Google rule where you could...
Yeah, the 20% or something. Yeah.
Honestly, it was not sustainable within our company, but 30 days, a few team members out of a few hundred people group to be able to innovate on something that will be helping the company, even though successful or not, is completely achievable.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost that much. And in the mobile app that we now have in Canada, many of the new added value features came from that team.
Okay.
Something that would have been harder to prioritize, let's say, when you have all of the roadmap.
Yes, yeah. And were there criteria like, because I worked it was a marketing innovation team, and it was the same idea. Our CMO at the time, Paul Darcy, was really big on, I want to find the ideas that will scale. Did you have kind of if we're going to do this, it has to have a path to scale, or were you okay for it not to have that at the start?
I was okay not to have that at the start. I think that I wanted to leave the team as much room to innovate as possible. So it just needed to answer a real customer need.
Okay.
And have a direct link with the strategy. That's it. And then if it worked, so we were able, and we needed to be able to test it with real customers.
Okay.
But it could be a
small
sample
okay.
of the customers. Then if it works, this is the benefit of working for a large organization, right? Like you would have the means to be able to rearrange it or do it so that it could be then scalable.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And the other thing, sorry, I'll move on from this because I'm just fascinated. I love this whole space. But we also would always have to, and we laboured on this a lot, what decision will we make? Because one of the things we felt was and we had seen it previously where a decision was made not to run, it was direct response TV advertising.
Oh, I remember those days. Can I just say, I miss those days. It was so efficient.
Yeah, to your TV. Like all the ones I used to see were in the States because that's where we'd go. And I'd always turn the TV on in the hotel. First thing I always do so I can see the ads. And then it was like an ad, and then there'd be about 45 seconds of, this medicine could kill you. They're my favourites. But that idea of knowing the decision you'd make so you don't make bad decisions, say we're not doing this thing. So the structure of it is really important, isn't it?
Yes. I think it's critical. The other point I would mention about being able to test is that we hear so often, it's okay to fail, but in practice, when you have a team of high performers, they don't fail.
Yeah.
But the thing that's super important and that we tend to forget is that it's okay to fail. We just need to, going back to the decision-making process, we just need to make that decision quickly.
Yeah.
The impact are not growing and growing.
Yes, yeah, we had one of those, and we're terrified, not because he was a scary man, but we'd put a big bet on something, and after 6 weeks, we're like, this is not going to work, and we will just kill all this money. And remember, I'll never forget the call to this day, and it was like a Zoom or a Teams, and within 2 minutes, the CMO was like, okay, because he knew it was the right decision.
That's it.
Yeah, I love that. As you said, you're now kind of back in a marketing role. Tell me about that journey to becoming CMO.
So my dream in life, or my goal in life, was to be a chief digital officer, which I was fortunate enough to achieve as the leader of an Intact Lab. But after 8 years, I think, maybe 6 years into it. So we went through from 15 people to when I left, I was managing 500 people. We know that we were going through another scaling again and growing the team again, which I was still excited about, but was ready for a new challenge. So I went to my boss and I told him, in fact, every year at year-end review, I always remind my bosses that I'm really willing to experiment and go and learn something else within the company. I had a list of areas that were of interest to me. Marketing was one of them. So it just so happened that that the previous CMO was promoted to president of Intact Insurance, which also says so much about Intact. The fact that that they would nominate a marketing person to
Yes,
lead
yeah.
the largest insurance company in Canada. So then I was offered this opportunity. I remember when my boss called me, he said, you could be the CMO. Do you want to think about it? I just said, no, yes, no, I want to do it. He said, no, take the evening. No, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So I knew the marketing team was just so excited to be able to join them and to be able to bring that whole innovation spirit and see how can I translate it to marketing to continue building our brands.
I love the fact you didn't even have to think about it.
I think that if you're truly passionate
Yes.
about innovation, you're completely okay with change, which I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you said, then the previous CMO, president of the company, and I assume a lot of support came with that. I know she's been a huge support for you.
She is her name is Anne Fortin. Tons of support. She is a true inspiration for me. She was my first when I joined. In fact, she was known in Montreal and in Canada as one of the leaders in marketing. Before joining Bel Air Direct, she was leading one of the largest ad agencies in Canada. So yeah, tons of support. I knew that I could go to her to ask questions and get reassurance, which I did. I really never shied away from going and ask for advice.
Yeah.
And ensuring that we had a smooth transition for our customers and for the team as well.
And again, I find that here as well. Again, I think it's culturally and people, I'm not from the insurance industry. I came from outside the industry. And so there's lots I don't know. A lot.
It doesn't show.
There's so many people that want to help and help you figure out what does this mean? Just even before the event, I was chatting to Melanie from Personal Lines and I was talking about the rebrand of brokers. And just even in those 10 minutes before everything started, I was like, okay, what can we do next year that helps? You know what I mean? And it's just wonderful, isn't it? It's a cultural thing again, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. When I joined Intact, I remember finding everyone so nice that I found it was sketchy. I didn't feel it, but I must say that 17 years into my company working at Intact, it is completely true. But I just want to go back quickly on the fact that I still don't consider myself an insurance person.
Yeah.
I consider myself like a marketing or a digital person who loves insurance. And I think it's totally okay, especially for marketers, to not be insurance experts. So when I hire people in my team, whether it was at the lab or in marketing, to me, not having insurance experience is a plus.
Yeah.
Right? We are surrounded by 30,000 people who know about insurance.
100%.
I think we have enough.
Yeah.
What we need, and I think what's the role of marketers within companies and within our companies, is to bring creativity, to challenge the status quo, and to bring a fresh perspective, which is super helpful when you don't have previous experience.
Yeah, and it's all, I think the categories, marketing, I think is good marketing, right? You have to learn, yes, there's regulation or compliance and all that's new and you learn, but I think knowing the principles and foundations of good marketing are actually so important.
And I'm sure you have things to ensure, right? So you are a consumer, so you can, I think that this leaves way more room to think about the customer when we can relate on that side of the
100%. And all of a sudden, everyone I know is an expert in insurance. Did
they say that people at Christmas parties or family reunions would ask you questions about insurance?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're so disappointed when they ask me questions.
So a friend of mine
Should you get me a better price?
Yeah. He was changing his car and he goes, I'm changing my car and I just need to know this and this. And I replied back going, I've no idea, but I can give you a friends and family code.
That's it. But what's amazing is that all of that feeds what we want to deliver to our customers, or makes us think that our customers or consumers must have the same questions.
100%. How do we make that easy when they can text me and I say no? I have no idea. One of the big things is probably an evolution of the Intact brand, and I think as any brand kind of grows and goes through different stages, but one of the things that kind of the brand narrative and the storytelling has become really important and evident, and we've a lovely tone of voice. And I've said it to you before, I love the fact that we, particularly in Canada, we can be a witty brand, and we'll get to that in other markets. But you said something which I love. Technology gives you speed, storytelling gives you meaning. And I was like, that's such a wonderful way for, maybe it's your journey, right? You understand the power of technology, but from a marketing perspective, that power of storytelling. But it has been an evolution for the brand.
Yes, it is such important. And we're fortunate working on the Intact brand that rooted in so much purpose, right?
Yeah.
This is one thing that we have going for us. Second thing that we have going for us is that we have the founders of the brand still with us. So to me, joining the marketing team, I saw the global CEO, Charles Brindamour, and the Canadian CEO, not only as CEOs and our bosses, but I saw them as founders of a brand. So the connection, the questions that we would ask, and how we want to make sure that we continue delivering on the vision that they had really helps building that story.
I love that story. I think you posted the video maybe this, or LinkedIn throws stuff from weeks ago, but I saw this week, I think, of Charles and Louis talking about creating the brand. There's a wonderful moment in it where, so maybe for people who don't know, you might tell the story. Like it started out of kind of the crisis almost,
during
wasn't
the
it?
economic crisis, they wanted to create that insurance company that was previously owned by an international group. They had to do it super quickly.
Yeah.
What inspires me the most about that whole story is that first they had to raise
the funding.
They should do a movie out of it. So they didn't go into those details into the video. They should do a movie. It is so exciting. So they were able, like during the Christmas holidays, to raise the funds to be able to own the Canadian or to build the Canadian operations. Then the first thing that they worked on was building the values. So we heard our CEO earlier on today talk about this is fundamental if you want to build a company that's sustainable. They really thought about it, and I am amazed. And I didn't think that building values would be one of the first things you would do building a company. And then came the story behind the name, right? That needed to be bilingual, that needed to mean something for customers.
Yeah.
They had a few days to work on it. Yeah, it's so funny when we hear Louis Gagnon. When you talk to marketing specialists, it's going to take 6 to 9 months. No.
That's my favorite
We have
part.
6 to 9 days. They tested it with customers, which was amazing to me that they still took the time to do this. And everything had meaning from the name intact, but also the logo that we see behind us, like the red brackets that are protecting everything, still relevant today. And you here in Ireland are like the true testament that that name could carry on internationally.
That is the thing, isn't it? Like you look at that and go, maybe somewhere in the back of their minds they had those future plans. But do you think, I was wondering about this as well, because we get on to now the global rebrand and all that, but I was wondering if coming from a bilingual market like Canada, do you think that has helped in some ways in terms of thinking?
It's an interesting question. You know what? I think that coming from a bilingual market must have helped, right? I come from the French part of Canada. I live in Montreal, and Intact is present throughout the country. We were always conscious that we had at least 2 different strong cultures in Canada, and that we have to adapt to those so that we can relate with customers. We've seen other companies, right, coming from stronger but one culture still be successful internationally. I think it helped. But you should tell me if you think it helped in embracing this.
So I 100% do. I really do. But I think even from the starting point in that they had to think of a name that would work bilingually. I think even that as a starting point becomes helpful, because when you go to other markets, it has to work. But I do think that that awareness of cultures helps when a brand goes global, because that is one of the big things. And so now, for people who may not know, what was RSA Insurance is now Intact Insurance. And it isn't something that's happened overnight. We didn't decide on the 5th of October.
No, we didn't.
If only it was that easy. But it's been a journey to come to this point and say, we're Intact Insurance globally. It's been a fascinating project to be involved with. I've loved it. And I keep saying every time you kind of went to a piece of the rebrand to figure it out, there'd be all this stuff behind you. Oh, there's that, and that that you have to figure out. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it was so interesting also to see that it was not a marketing project, right?
Yeah.
And it was not necessarily a branding project. It was a company-wide initiative, and this, I think, shows, like it was a big thing, right? To move from RSA, a brand that has been there for close to 400 years.
Yeah.
I had nightmares out of it, like saying, "Oh my God!" Like in the UK, would they say killed a national brand? Like, would it be the front page of the Financial Times? I would be afraid. But because it was rooted into, let's make sure that we all share the values, that we make it easier and clearer for all of the customers that we're now a global brand. So in terms of, especially in terms of the business insurance we could support and be present for our customers around the world, made it an even more interesting project to work on with an outcome, because it was not focused on the marketing side of it. I think that this is what made this rebrand a success, and thanks to the fabulous people who worked on it.
And you're right, it's been like, I think everybody has touched this in some way or another, even down to, I don't know if you heard the story, that the signage was going up in the office in Galway, and there was a storm the day it was meant to go up, and so people from the office came in over the weekend to make sure they could supervise and see the sign go up. Like that level of kind of commitment, again, we've touched on it 3 times now, but that kind of, it's culture, isn't it?
Yes, it is absolutely something that's super special, and that says so much when you look. I think that one of the biggest proof points is the tenure of people who work at Intact, starting with myself. Like my record prior to joining Intact was probably 5 years working in a company,
I won't tell you mine.
17 years. And I really hope that I'll be working at Intact until my retirement, because of the fantastic people I work with, because of the many opportunities also we get to innovate and change and experiment throughout the company as well.
And building a global brand is a whole new chapter now. How are you thinking about that? What's your starting points?
So the starting point is when you build it needs to be for sure consistent. It needs to be meaningful, and you want to carry on like the initial purpose that was built into the brand. I think that our job is not to reinvent the brand globally, is to magnify it and make it relevant for every market, would be the point number 1. Number 2, I was fortunate enough at some point in my career to be part of another insurance company that was acquired by Intact. I was not working at the head office.
Okay.
And I had tons of freedom in the Canadian operation, which I always appreciated. So I think that the balance that we must find is how can we build that strong brand that's consistent and that means and that stands or conveys like the right values, the right purpose, the same value and purpose internationally, while still give all of the great people that are leading the brands in every country like the freedom to do their best work, to be able to innovate. And so I think that those are the 2 biggest considerations.
It's incredibly hard, because I have found before, like, brands tend to probably go one or other of those 2 ways. So it's a wonderful starting point that it's about consistency and freedom within consistency. Because a lot of brands are like, this is it.
Follow the brand book.
Enjoy.
Yes. You know what? We really thought about it. And when we decided on the brand governance model, some people would say, hey, you know what? It would be really easier if it was really centralized. Which I think it would be, but would be, to me, very disengaging for the marketing experts and the brand experts around the world. And we would be missing out on leveraging the expertise and being relevant for customers. So it's a wonderful starting point. We haven't figured it out all. But to me, I love the fact that we are building that brand and marketing community around the world. And what I'm hoping we'll all achieve is bringing that brand together. I've been in that role for 18 months, although I'm surrounded by a great team in Canada who I don't know everything. I certainly don't know the specificities of the Irish market or the French market. So the goal is to leverage the smart people and the passionate people that we have around us.
And then the other side is the ability, and we've talked about this, to leverage things that exist and can scale across markets. So there's lots and that's why I'm kind of so excited that there's that opportunity to take Intact, that's a brand for a long time in Canada, has learned so much. And yes, we'll sell different things here. The product might be different, how we look and show up, but there's lots of expertise that we can just get. And so it's the 2 sides. And I think that's I think there's a maturity of the people that are working in it kind of going, it's the bit of all of those things that work and are going to make this an incredibly strong brand.
Exactly. And I think that if everyone lives by the Intact value, and if everyone also lives by what we call the leadership success factor, which are super helpful for all leaders at Intact to know what is expected of us from a behavior standpoint, I really think that this model could work. It's not going to always be easy, but if it's done with respect, with the same strive for excellence and outperformance, I don't know why we wouldn't succeed.
Yeah, and people coming into it with that kind of openness
Yeah.
With the rebrand, have there been things that have surprised you and that you've been shocked about?
I think that the biggest thing, I knew about it, I understood it, but I didn't really understood it, is the power of words. Like you talked about the word, like simple example. So what made sense for us in Canada in terms of defining the brand tone?
Yes,
Witty is a good example,
great
right?
example.
Yeah. So for us, it made sense. Witty means something for us in Canada, but talking to our UK colleagues, we understood or realized that witty didn't mean exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. And through the definition of our brand promise, the brand equity drivers, I never thought that we would be spending so much time within our group of marketers and brand specialists, but also with our CEOs, really carefully selecting every word so that it would mean the same thing or that it would spark the same emotion from everyone. So this to me was the biggest and most important learning, which is not nothing when you work surrounded by numbers. And
the power of the words, but as you say, the meaning being different. And that's where the local piece just comes in, doesn't it? That someone says, oh, but I remember, I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but I have talked about it, where we were doing some brand work in India, and we had 3 kind of ideas, and one was very much on global brand, but it was boring. And then there was one that was a bit out there and crazy, and that was the moment where we had to work with the team in India to say, okay, how do we explain why this is right for the market? What is it that's better than the global idea? Because the global idea would have sailed through. And so we were like, okay, we're up for a bit of a debate and a discussion here. We have to be ready. We have to understand why. And it was brilliant. And that's, again, the local team were able to just bring in examples, like other advertising that's in the same genre, why it would cut through, what the category is doing, why this was different. And that's the power, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. And this is what I love, again, working about in the insurance industry and our companies, that if you can make a solid argument or build a solid argument that's based on facts or examples from our facts, you'll succeed most of the time. To me, being able to build a strong rationale anchored in strategy is critical and is an immense accelerator for everything that we want to do in marketing.
As we're sitting here, and this is a great time of year too, this kind of towards the end of the year, and we all look ahead. I should tie all these together, the crystal ball moments. If we had it, we wouldn't be sitting here, would we?
Yeah, no, that's it.
But as you look ahead, maybe first of all, in the Intact side and kind of that idea of building a global brand, what are you looking forward to kind of most as you think about next year?
I think that we're at different places for sure in different markets. I think that what I'm looking for, so I can't say it now from a Canadian standpoint, but to us, building a household brand, we spend so much time trying to understand what does it mean, right? And if we want to build a household brand in Canada and then a household brand for brokers, we needed to really reflect on what that definition means. There's one strong component, which is building familiarity.
Yeah.
And going back to your previous point, being relevant to different markets is really helpful in building that familiarity. So for us in Canada, one way to bring familiarity was the sponsorship strategy that we are expanding and will be, by the time this podcast is out, we'll know that being associated in Canada or a partner with the Canadian Olympic team is a big thing for us that we're super excited to deploy and see live in Milan, starting with the Milan Games. I think that the other big opportunity that I think marketing has a big role to play is to see how can we help building resilient communities. So how can we help homeowners really better protect their houses? And just looking forward to see how the brand will live in the different countries. What would be the spark? How will all of our different campaigns and initiatives, how will it strengthen the brand and make us progress in our journey to become a household name? This is what I'm the most excited about.
And in a world that we live in now, without being cliche, but there's spillover from all these things. Like when the Canadian team are wearing Intact, that does a job here. When we see stuff in the UK, that does a job here. Like it is wonderful that we have that, and that's kind of an advantage, I think, of a global brand.
And this ambition of becoming also a household brand gives us the opportunity to really build a stronger marketing and branding community within Intact. We are a small group, but we are
mighty.
Yes.
Small but mighty.
Small but mighty. So I'm really excited to continue building that expertise internationally with all of you.
Amazing. Man, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been...
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No, thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks a million. And enjoy the rest of the stay. We have more time together tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, Conor. This was super, super fun.
What a wonderful episode with Imen. It was great to spend time with her sitting in between the Intact brackets and underneath the flags of Ireland and Canada. Such incredible strength in this brand going forward, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to work on the global rebrand, just being part of it. It's a huge team across so many markets that have been involved in this. Great to hear Imen's story, hear her talk about her path, her passion for marketing, her passion for digital, her passion for people, and her passion for insurance, which, as even she said herself, is probably surprising to people. You don't necessarily wake up as a 9-year-old saying, I'd love to work in insurance, particularly as a marketer, but I can say firsthand that it is an incredibly innovative space to work, and you can see with leaders like Imen why that is the case. Listen, I hope you enjoyed that episode today. If you did, please do like, rate, review, share, subscribe, all of those things that help more and more people find That's What I Call Marketing. I nearly said Intact Insurance there, but you can find that as well. So listen, from me, your host, Conor Byrne, thanks again for tuning in. Take care.
If you would like to reach an engaged community of marketing leaders, get in touch with That's What I Call Marketing to discuss sponsorship opportunities.